verify chat. Give me a minute. I just have to finish what I'm doing here. What is this? Is any of this stuff I care about? No, do not turn on notifications. Okay, so I just need to go here. Yeah, so I can't see anything yet. So if you are attempting to send a message, do me a favor, just wait a minute and I'll tell you once I'm ready, because I'm just getting my stuff set up here. And that's the thing. That's one of the things that takes forever, is the chat thing inevitably takes 5 minutes to get going. So another reason why I'm just not going to rush it, because it's pointless. So where are we? There we are. Oh, I turned the sound on. I forgot. Turn the sound on. Okay, well, it tells me the sound's working, so that's a plus. And let's paste that and share that. And then the only thing left is I have to activate my microphone is on. Select live source. Give that a minute. There it is. Activate. Okay, and then activate live source. There it is. Activate. Now, let me line those two windows up. Why do I not see the chat window? It's odd. There it is. I don't know why that chat window did not show up. YouTube windows are still squirreled in this version of Social Stream, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make much of a difference. Participants. I don't think anybody's even here. No. Okay, so all the streams are running. My audio is working. I've posted everywhere I need to. I don't need these windows open anymore. So the only thing left is to get the, oh, I have to hit the activate button on Social Stream. So I hit this button. I hit this button. There we are. Wow, it's really loud. Why is it so loud? Oh, it's just loud. All right, shrink this window down. Now I need to select that window. Hello, there we are. Let's go to sound source, social stream dashboard. Make visible. Okay. Let's do a quick test. I'm not even going to test the other two. Perfect. It's working. So now I just need to, we're going to use Let's View tonight, not Photoshop. So here we go. All right. And let's turn Let's View on. Waiting, booting. Okay, go. Start. Yes, it's counting down. Okay, very good. Perfect. Let's get this booted up. We'll make sure that shows on my end. I believe it will. You can't see it yet, but you will in a minute. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and roll the intro thing, and then we should be good. And how many minutes? 6 minutes. See? Last time it was over 7 minutes before this all got working. Now it's 6.5. I mean, you can't make it up. You really can't. There we go. All right, so what we're looking at, let me get a drink of water really quick, and I will explain what we're doing here. Ooh, water is very good. I'm going to be going to Adobe Max in less than a month. Wow. Geez, it's getting close. And so I'm going to make a shirt that I'm going to wear there. So right here, this is the, it might be hard. Oh, no, you can see it. That's the Adobe logo, the A. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking that fruit image I made, and I'm making it deep red because the Adobe logo is red. And I'm going to make these, the little pieces are going to form the A. And then I'll put this on a shirt, and it'll be like my Adobe Max shirt. Kind of like, hey, you know, just something different to have on there. Stand out a little bit. Because I'm excited. I'm excited to go. So I'm in cleanup mode. This is going to take a while. Oh, maybe not. I shouldn't say that. It might not take that long. Oh, yeah, it's going to take a while. I got to clean up all these because I duplicated this, so this is not the original. That other one is going to be used for that other image, which is going to then, that will be the next thing. Once I finish this, I'll go back to that. But I have to clean all this up so that I can get this to look right. So I've had to redo quite a bit of this. And yeah, so this is going to take some work, which is fine. It's okay. It's just how it goes. But I got to erase these edge parts because I got to redraw them. See, I've redrawn those there, so those are already done. I got to redraw the tops. And yeah, so that's what we're doing this evening for a little while. Probably about 45 minutes. Yeah, probably something like that. And but this is what we'll be doing. So yeah, I just realized that I had delivery in the mail from Time Slave Recordings, the LP of Ogre's Calico Brawn album that was put out on vinyl. And you might say, oh, I'll bet you're looking forward to playing that on your record player. To which my reply is, I don't have a record player. I bought it just because I want to send him some money, because he's a very good musician. He's done the theme song for our main show. I just interviewed him. I am working on editing that particular video. It will be out in November, so I have plenty of time, and I'll need it, because of course, what had to happen? There had to be a technical hiccup. Not his fault, my fault. Well, sort of. It was just, he is in Britain, and so the internet was doing a very heavy lift. He also had a cold, so I felt terrible because he did the show anyway, and he was fighting a cold, and it's just whatever. The interview is completely salvageable. However, hilariously, I somehow deactivated my video and didn't realize it for about 30 minutes. So for the first 30 minutes, you will not see me on that interview. You will see a picture of my dog substituting for me, because I did not notice. I don't look at myself in the preview thing very much. It was only when I noticed I wasn't getting annoyed at how much I was moving my hands, because I'm a hand talker. And usually I see that on the monitor video, my own video, and I get annoyed by it. And I noticed that I was moving a lot with my hands and I wasn't noticing it. And that's when I realized, oh, I'm not noticing it because my video's not running. I'm a moron. And, so that's how it goes. So, but luckily I have plenty of time to edit that, which is good, because I'm also going to be editing the late night double feature, where Doug Bielmeyer, if I can pronounce his name correctly, maybe, and I will be talking about a pair of David Lynch films. They will be Lost Highway and Inland Empire. Inland Empire is 3 hours long. I have about 30 minutes left of it. I watched half of it yesterday, and the other half I've been watching today. Quite an interesting film. Very, very, very excited to talk about that one in particular. Already did the Lost Highway segment, so that's done. That's in the can, as they say. That's just got to be edited. And then tomorrow is Inland Empire. Probably one of the more David Lynch's films, and that's saying something. Because, boy oh boy, trying to explain what that movie is about to people would be tricky for me. I mean, I can make up what I think it's about, but trying to really capture the entirety of the film, not so easy. But you know what? That's what makes those movies fun. That's what makes David Lynch a fun person to experience the art of. Is to be enveloped in a world that makes very little sense, or I shouldn't say it doesn't. It's not that it makes very little sense. It requires you to make sense of it. That's the better way to put it. I think that was one of Lynch's great strengths, was that he had a very, very sincere faith that the audience would bring something of themselves to his work. And he trusted the audience to figure out what they thought the message of his movies was. He famously would not explain his movies. He would say, no, it's not for me to tell you what the movie is. The movie is the message. Because somebody had said, well, what's the message of the movie? And I think his response was, or what is the movie saying? And he says, well, the movie is what it is saying. It's up to you to figure out what you think it's saying. Which I really admire, the fact that he really stuck to that in almost every case. Very few of his movies did he even give much of a background on, in anything other than vague terms. Lost Highway was an exception. He did kind of give away what that movie is. Even though I think, and I said this in our review, so if you ever hear it, you'll hear me say, I think Lost Highway is a very good starter film for anybody who's curious about David Lynch. Who doesn't really know if it's their thing or not. That's a good movie to watch because I feel like it's the lightest in terms of the kind of off-kilter stuff. It's the lightest of all of his films. It's the one I feel like most people will get in terms of what is generally thought to be what it's about. Again, there is no saying what it's about because it's whatever you bring to it. But I feel like that one is fairly straightforward. It's not hard to see where that one is going and what it's trying to say. I don't think. Now, I could be completely wrong. That also is the beauty of Lynch's work, is there is no certainty in it. There is no right or wrong. That's what makes it so wonderful, is that everybody who sees it and says, well, this is what it's about, every one of those people, they're all right and they're all wrong. That's what's great. That's what made Lynch really, really, I think, special, is that rather than try to tell you, to command you to see something a certain way, he trusted you to figure out what you thought it meant, and he wouldn't tell you were wrong. He would say, I'm sure he would say something along the lines of, if that's what you think it meant, then that's what it meant. Which is, I think, great. I don't think enough filmmakers do things like that. There's way, and to be fair about it to the filmmakers who explain things, we as the audience have gotten too accustomed to having clean answers. And I won't pretend I don't like that too. I do. I do like the idea of, turn the guide on for this. You know, there is a what's the word for it? There's a comfort in understanding something and feeling like you understand what the message of something is. There's a satisfaction in that, because it can be very challenging to apply what you think to something, especially with art. I think something that people don't take into consideration enough is how powerful interpretation can be. And the thing that I think a lot of people also don't want to consider about art is that your interpretation of something will say a lot about you as well as the work. You know, it's kind of art is, in a very real way, all art is a Rorschach test. It really is. It's the art that does not present a clear narrative is a Rorschach test, in that you are somewhat explaining and revealing yourself in your reaction to it. And I think a lot of people are kind of frightened by that. That's why I think that art that does not fit into kind of conventional storytelling themes or easy interpretation, I think that's what puts people off. People don't want to delve into that stuff. They don't want to think about why they react a certain way. I think most people, I shouldn't say all people, obviously there are people who are completely fine with that type of thing, that find that kind of media analysis fun. I'm one of those people. Not to say that there aren't times where I realize that I'm inferring something that's completely me into it, and then I have to think about it. There's a movie I was just telling a friend about a movie called Clear Cut. The word clear, the word cut, single, no spaces. Movie from 1991 concerning Native Americans, indigenous American people, and their confrontation with companies and what they see as the destruction of their land and their identity. And it's a movie that does not give you an easy answer when it ends, and that's why I want to watch it, because I like the idea of having to reckon, from what I've read, that the main kind of idea that the movie is playing with is, well, we're taught that violence is never the answer. That's something you hear a lot. Violence is never the answer. But are there times where it is the answer? Are there injustices so great that the only response is violence? I'm not saying there is or isn't. That's what the movie is kind of playing with, is this idea that, well, wait a minute. Yes, ideally you should never have to resort to violence, but are there times where injustice is so great, so horribly huge that violence is demanded, is required, is the only logical response to achieve justice of any kind. That's heavy stuff. So I understand why that movie I think is well liked, but I never heard of it, and I think I know why. I think a lot of people don't want to think about that movie and what it's saying, because it does not offer, from what I understand, an easy out for the answer to that question. It's for you to bring, you have to think about what you see in that movie and then decide whether certain actions by certain characters were in fact just or unjust in the face of something that is shown to be clearly unjust, which is the destruction of an entire culture and a group of people. That's heavy stuff. And there are going to be a lot of people who don't want to engage with that stuff. I understand that. I don't blame anybody who would say, yeah, that sounds like too heavy of a movie for me. Yeah, it sounds like a heavy flick. But that's why I want to see it. That's what interests me about it. I don't mind that kind of contemplation, that idea of, okay, what do I think here? I've had that with stuff in a lot over the years, in particular in the last 10 years or so. There are a number of things that I've really had to go back and think about why I believed what I believe, whether maybe I was wrong, maybe it was time to reinterpret or reevaluate some of those things I was thinking. And in some cases, things where I was really kind of sure of what I thought. But then, new information comes to light, and you have to sit there and go, wow, does that change something for me? I think that's also a thing that people struggle with, is the idea of, well, have I incorporated a belief into myself so deeply that now it's part of my identity? So will my identity survive changing that belief? And I think most people do not give themselves enough credit. Many people think that a belief is themselves. And so the change of that belief means that it's the destruction of their self. And so they cling to it even though deep down they know it's wrong. Or at the very least that they have some doubt about it, but they can't possibly let go of that because they've incorporated it into themselves so tightly that to release it in their mind means the destruction of themselves. I am getting into some really heavy intellectual space tonight. I did not intend to. This is supposed to be a fun little art stream. I did not, but I guess just talking about that movie has got me kind of in that mood where I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is a movie where I'm going to be very interested where I fall when it ends, as far as which characters, because as I said, I think if I read the synopsis correctly, there's really 3 key characters, and the movie starts as one thing and then changes. So it starts off as kind of, you'll think it's about one thing, and it will be about that one thing for a while, and then there will be a shift in the way the story is going. And when that shift happens, part of that shift is in the morality. And, how characters that you, either because the movie gave you this information or because you put it into it, characters that you see in a certain light might change. Or, to be more accurate, they might not change. You might realize that you were projecting something on those characters, which is fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. So, but yeah, right before the stream I was watching Inland Empire, which is a movie where you see why David Lynch was such a fan of Laura Dern and put her into so many of his movies, because boy, oh boy, is she doing a lot of work in that movie. She is doing some serious stuff in there. And it's fascinating. It's a very, very interesting movie in terms of what it might be talking about. I can't pretend like I actually know, because I don't. That's what makes it fun. I like not knowing some things. Lack of knowledge is not always a lack of knowledge is not always a lack of knowledge. Sometimes it's just space for interpretation. Welcome to my TED Talk on the nature of intellect. Blah, 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 as I draw a fruit with an Adobe logo carved into it. But yeah, so I will finish Inland Empire tonight. We'll record that tomorrow. I have to complete the editing on the Ogre show, but I do have plenty of time for that. And I am finding, because I thought that there was parts of that show that got lost due to some internet kind of lag, that real serious latency lag that we were running into. But as far as I can tell, the lag really just dragged out parts, and I can just cut them into each other through editing, and they're not actually lost. I really hope that holds, because if it does, there'll be a little bit of choppiness to it, but it won't be that whole segments are missing the way I thought they might be. Because that'd be a real bummer. It was a great interview. It was great catching up with him. I hadn't talked to him in 5 years. It's been a long time. And we had a blast. We talked about his new album, which is titled Shards. Hold on, I'm getting a drink of water here. Magnificent. So we talked about his album. Caught up. We talked a little bit about video games, board games, the nature of creation and being a creative individual, and why art should never be a negative thing. It should always be a positive, empowering, and uplifting thing. Even with art that's cathartic, it should still leave you in a better place than you start. Great stuff. It's great stuff. Exactly what I was hoping for. Anytime I have somebody on the show, I really want to have especially a creative person. You always want to hear that those people are still enjoying creating, or still having a good time. In Robin's case, I learn every time when I talk to him, and almost every musician, I learn a little bit about music. Same with Doug Bielmeyer. When I talk to him about music and stuff, I'm always learning these new things, because music to me is, I don't understand how people create it. I really don't. I can't figure it out. I can't figure that out. It's such a beautiful thing when somebody can create a really memorable piece of music, and I don't know how they get there. I really don't. So when I talk to people who are musicians, some of the fun for me is in trying to decode how they do it. Because to me, it's a magical thing. It really is. It's this fascinating creation process where they can, when I was talking to Robin yesterday as a bit of a preview, there's a point where he's talking about a machine that he's using, and Doug has mentioned this too, and some of the people that Doug has talked to, because he does a music podcast as well called The Process, some of the stuff he's talked to people about, there are these machines, I don't know if they'd be classified as synthesizers or if they have a more technical term, but essentially they create these random elements out of different things that you input into them, and you might never get that sound again. And so you always want to be recording things, which is a lot easier today than certainly in the days of analog tape, where you would run out really quick, and there was a delay in swapping it. Now it's a lot easier. But it is fascinating to me, people who make music that way, where there's an element of true randomness to it, that even they don't control the medium entirely. They are somewhat at the mercy of the actual medium. That's fascinating to me, because that lack of control is terrifying to me. It really is. Like that, the idea that you are not able to replicate a work. Oh boy, that's scary stuff for me. You look at the art I do, like these lines, they're all clean lines. And as I was saying to Robin in the interview, I've come to realize that for me, my art is very much a game of repetition. I often make very similar shapes over and over and over, same things. And for a long time, I kind of thought that was a bad thing. I sort of thought, it makes me a lesser artist. But I really don't think that way anymore. I see a lot of really great artists who just make the things they like making. So there's a lot of repetition, but it's all in service of them doing things. Oh, I hear a beep. Oh, look at this. We have a moron. Cheap followers on streamboo.com. Oh, really? Yeah, bye. Bye, Streamboo. Moron. Why are people so dumb? Buying followers. Oh, I just realized there's something on my... Oh, wait. Did we get one out? So it sounds like noise. Okay, so hold on. My glasses are off, so I can't even read. Hold on. I saw the quote, but I couldn't see the name. Hold on. Let me clean this thing off my glasses because I didn't see it before. Who do we have here? Wow. Ken Koo's lecture series. That's a hell of a name. Sounds like noise artist work. Yeah. It could be. It's hard to say. Well, welcome, Ken. I'm just going to call you Ken. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to just use the short version and say Ken. Welcome, Ken. Happy Monday. I gotta erase all this stuff. Hold on a second. I didn't realize how much of this I had to redo because it's so short for where that is. So let's just get rid of that. We'll get rid of all that. We're going to... yeah, we can get rid of this, but we'll leave that loop there. I can kind of work around that one. All this is going away. We'll loop that there. We're going to go ahead and soften that out. And then that's okay. And the rest, I think, is... Oh, I missed these two. Hold on. All this has got to go. All got to go. We'll round that off. I knew I missed a section. Probably missed more than one, but... What else is new? All right, those are good. That's good. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to cut all that. That goes. I think I missed a little spot. That all goes. These little branches go. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave that for now. All right, back to here. Let's get this finished. Where are we anyway, time-wise? 30 minutes. God, it flies. Time flies when you're having fun. Oh, wrong layer. Go to the right layer. That's the correct layer. Right, keep going here. Cheap followers. I mean, that's not even a good advertisement. Yeah, I'd like some cheap followers. No, I don't want cheap followers. I'd like people to show up who enjoy the work. The stream. I don't need to pay for them. And I don't consider viewers cheap if they come by their own volition. When you buy them, they're cheap. When they just show up, not cheap. I'm so mystified that that's even still a thing. That people even still pay for followers. There was a point where that, I guess, made sense for some people, but now we're so far past that. I mean, does it even work? What does the follower count even mean anymore? Does it mean something? Because I don't think that number matters the way it used to. It doesn't feel like it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's because I'm not part of the chasing the numbers thing. Maybe people who really are into that stuff, the numbers still matter. I don't know. I just feel like I said, I feel like that was a thing that's its time has gone. It was the idea that you could, figure out anything about the quality of a channel based on how many people were following it. I don't know if that was ever true, but I certainly don't think it's true anymore. I don't think I ever really... When I'm looking through different videos, whether it's on here, on YouTube, or anywhere else, I never look at the follower count. I don't care, the subscriber count. That is really loud. I have to figure out if that's a system setting. Let's see, Ken. Okay, I agree on the aspect of not understanding how music is constructed. Worked for a music TV station for a year plus, and at the end, I still had no idea how to explain the differentiation between good and bad music, or even how mastering is even conceived. Yeah, well, that's another thing. I'm going to turn this volume down so this isn't blasting through the mic. Yeah, I agree with you. Well, that's the thing. I mean, with your point about good and bad music, there is no good and bad music. There really isn't. I mean, it's like anything else. It's all subjective. Because there's music okay, I'll give you a perfect example. I just lost my place. Hold on. Let me just get back to where was I here? Oh, no, I was doing this. I got it. I still listen to White Zombie. Which, if you don't know what White Zombie is, the band, which you might not, because they're not regarded as a particular... I mean, they don't exist as a band anymore. But even when they were quote-unquote popular, I don't think almost anybody regarded them as a good band. They made what I would call... I have always described White Zombie's music as McDonald's metal. It's very popified metal music. But it's, it's very, very, again, junk food is the only way I can put it. Right? And I completely agree with that assessment that most people have of it. That it's not particularly high quality, innovative songwriting. But it's really catchy and I like it. So I don't care. It's good to me. Is it good music? It's not Beethoven. Let's see. I don't know who White Zombie is. Are they like Rob Zombie? Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes, of course. Well, I say that because I'm old enough now that there are probably people who don't know what White Zombie was. I don't think there's the pop culture. Pop culture awareness doesn't seem to have any type of permanence anymore. It's just there's so many rapid fire things that become popular and then are almost immediately unpopular 15 minutes later that I don't know what the persistence of anything is anymore. I really don't. So there are times where I'm like, well, I don't have to explain what this is. And then somebody will say, well, what is it? What is that? Okay, well, then I might as well just explain it on the off chance that somebody doesn't know. Yeah, and interesting you bring up the Rob Zombie comparison. Now, I didn't hear that message at all. So did I turn the volume down too far? Who knows? I'll look up every so often. Rob Zombie I never got into, whereas White Zombie I really liked. And you can make a very fair argument that it's virtually the same music. I mean, there are differences, but it's not drastically different. Yet for some reason, when Rob Zombie went solo, I don't know. None of that stuff ever worked for me the way the old stuff did. It's just strange. I don't know how to explain it. But, well, there were differences. It's not exactly the same music. But it's certainly not like he suddenly went acoustic or anything. So, who knows? But that's what I mean, is the idea of art being good or bad, of trying to apply an objective rational or a measurement to something that is in its very nature a subjective thing. No point. And so there is no bad music. There is no good music. There's just music. And for some people it works and it provokes an emotional response, or they just have fun listening to it. And that makes it good, and for others it isn't, and for them I guess it's bad. But I'd rather have a world filled with a variety of music, good and bad, than one where there's only one type of good music and that's all we get. Because, oh boy, that sounds really boring to me. Then you wouldn't have Led Zeppelin, you'd only have Led Zeppelin. And I think both bands are very worth listening to. If you've never actually listened to Led Zeppelin, you should. It's hysterical. Very funny. I don't know if that band actually exists anymore either, if they split up. I would imagine they're probably gone by now. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's take 5 seconds to take a look. Does Led Zeppelin still exist? Let's find out. Let's find out together, live on the stream, whether Led Zeppelin, here it is, do they still exist? Was an American reggae rock band formed in 1989 in Sierra Madre, California. The band combined hard rock and reggae styles with humor. Let's see, when did they were around for a while, 2016, so they haven't been broken up. I mean, relatively, that's pretty good. From 89 to 2016, that's a good run. That's not bad. I didn't think that they would even have been that far in, so that's great. For a novelty act, granted a very funny one, I liked it. I have, not all their albums, but I have a number of them. I always enjoyed the concept of it. So I'm glad that they stuck around for a while. That's great. But there again, I'm sure some people would hear Led Zeppelin and say, well, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Whereas I was always very entertained by the concept of it. Always thought that was a great gag. Led Zeppelin and reggae, why not? Gang, why not? It's funny, and that's what matters. It's fun, and it's funny. But, yeah, so the idea of trying to figure out... I mean, there is music that I can't stand. So, to me, it's bad. But I would never say any... I'll just give you a perfect example. I'll give you a specific example instead of talking vaguely. Country music. I can't stand country music. It all sounds the same to me. And the irony of me making that statement is I love house music, which literally all sounds the same. And I mean electronic, like dance music. It all sounds the same. So, hey, you know what? The timer's working. I just realized the message didn't disappear. Yeah, okay, well, I don't consider Johnny Cash to be country music. Johnny Cash is Johnny Cash. And I know that's sort of a stupid thing to say, but I really don't. I segment Johnny Cash off in his own thing, because that music is, I don't know how to describe why it doesn't sound like country to me. Maybe it's just because I like him as a personality and his songs. So I guess you're right. That's, you know what, you make an excellent point, that this is what I'm saying is I can't even apply my own rule to myself. Because there you go. So you're right. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Johnny Cash is great. I think every live album Johnny Cash ever put out. I mean, I have every single one. I'd have to look and see if, I don't know if I've got them all, but I've got most of them. Interestingly, Johnny Cash works best for me live. Not to say I don't like any of the stuff that he did, like studio recordings, but I really like his live stuff better. I feel like his voice kind of works better live. I have no scientific or any kind of reasoning behind that. It just sounds better to me live. There are a number of artists I think of that way that sound better to me live. Pearl Jam sounds better to me live than any of their studio album stuff, including songs I don't like on their studio albums. Oh yeah, well there's a reason it's a classic. San Quentin's also a great one. Yeah, there's reasons. There's reasons everybody knows these records, and that's one of them. And that's what I'm saying is I don't even think of Johnny Cash as country, even though I know that genre-wise he is. But he's just one of those people that I'm like, yep, there's something about him. There's certain voices and personalities and individuals that just, it's kind of like Peter Gabriel's another one. I mean, I don't even know what you would classify his music as, but it's really not even about classifying his music. It's that, oh, this is Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel exists in whatever world Peter Gabriel exists in and creates the art that he creates in it. And that's all that matters. It really doesn't matter what the genre is or isn't supposed to be. It's Peter Gabriel. It's about what he brings to his music and what he makes. That's what you're actually responding to, not whether it's considered world music or folk music or pop music or whatever, which he's done all those things. But that's not really what it's about. It's about the fact that there's somebody who's expressing himself in this very particular way with this voice that he does things with. Johnny Cash is the same thing. So, but you're right. It's a very valid counterpoint, and that's what I mean about I'm not going to tell anybody that something that they enjoy is bad of any kind. As long as they're getting something good out of it and it's not hurting them. I mean, people do things that they perceive as being good that are harmful to them, and I don't like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that, and that could be many different things. But outside of that, if a person enjoys something, who am I to tell them they're wrong to enjoy it? Whatever things bring you joy in life, you should embrace them as much as you can, in whatever way you can. Because there's far too little of that in the world, so whatever makes you happy, you should do it. I mean, I just today in the mail got, I think I mentioned this at the top, I just got a record. I don't have a record player, I can't play it. But it was a way to support an artist that I have a lot of respect for and enjoy the music of. So, hey. I'll probably end up putting them on the wall, kind of like paintings. I have space for where records could sit because I don't have a lot of wall space left, but I can fit records in places pretty easily. So that's actually a good use of them. Good use of the two of them. I only have two. I own a grand total of 2 vinyl records at this point. Aphex Twins Selected Ambient Works Volume 2 and Calico Brawn by Ogre. Sorry, I gotta shift. I just realized that this is angled completely wrong. So let's just get rid of this. Shade that down. Fix that in a minute. Okay, we'll see what we want to do here. So, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm just glad I have those records, even though I will never, well, I shouldn't say never. It's highly unlikely I'll ever get a record player. Because I'm not going to start, I have enough CDs as it is. I don't need to start now buying records. And I don't have anywhere to keep them. I've been buying random LPs at thrift stores that I find that I'd like, but still no record player. Well, that's okay. That's what I'm saying is, that's fine. I've got cassette tapes and I don't have a cassette player. I've gotten cassette tapes because I like the idea of having the shelf with the cassette tapes. But I will say, I have noticed I do sort of like the noise of a cassette. I've heard a couple of cassette, somebody who digitized cassettes, and you can hear like the tape head and all that stuff. And there is something to that. I do kind of like that analog sound. Even though I'll be the first one who will say, yeah, I don't get when people say that LPs sound better than CDs. I've never understood that. I don't hear that difference. I don't hear the warmth that they're talking about. And yet on a cassette, I seem to like it. I don't even know if I really hear it or if I just like the idea of it. It's probably all psychological. I probably am not hearing anything. Or sorry, I shouldn't say that. I know it's not better. I know it's not better. I don't have to even think about the fact that it's like, no, it's not a better quality. Cassette is inherently inferior. I already know it because of its analog nature, and yet there is something about that is appealing to me. But I know it's all just in my head. I know there's not some quantifiable improvement that a cassette has over a CD. I know that. But to go back to my earlier point, does it matter? Doesn't matter. I like it anyway. So, who cares? Who cares is the larger point. If it's something you get a kick out of, then great. Get a kick out of it. That's fine. But yeah, I could, if I've seen people who have really interesting ways of mounting records on their walls. They have all these collections of records that I really feel like they're using as wall art. Really neat looking. I would have had to do that from the beginning. I don't have the space to really do something like that now. I focused on original art and kind of unique art prints and that kind of stuff. And that's what I've got. That's what's covering my wall. So I really don't have anywhere that LPs could go at this point. And I don't want to just buy them. I think I do a fairly good job most of the time of, let's see, it has a decaying style to it. That's its style and sound. Is nice. Yeah, except the interesting part is if you take a digital rip of it, the decay is the same every time. There's sort of a paradox in there. You've preserved the decay in a specific state if you get a digital copy of the tape. It's fascinating, isn't it? Such a neat idea. But like I was saying with the LP thing, the reason I wouldn't attempt to start collecting now is I know I will, the likelihood is so small that I would ever actually display them, that I'd end up buying them and they would sit on a shelf and they would collect dust. And I don't find I find that to be a waste of what they are. I'd rather have somebody actually buy the record as opposed to me and use it, and not just be somebody like I would do and just store it somewhere on the 3% chance I ever mount it on a wall or put it into a display. Because if that ever happens, if I ever actually get serious about it and go, okay, yeah, I want to mount records, well, those records are going to be around. And if they're not for some reason the records I want, other records will be around. Those things are always they're never going to go away. There's always going to be collectors. There's always going to be a way to get them. They'll be around. So if it ever happens, I'm not worried about getting the records I want. And I can always just go buy records that I won't even really care about the music, but just like the art style of. Plenty of that stuff. I mean, there's a band from, I don't know if they're still around, but they were definitely bigger in the 80s and 90s. Band called Asia, and they had these beautiful pieces of artwork on a lot of their albums. Even though the albums themselves I didn't really care for all that much. It's a couple good songs here and there, like Heat of the Moment, that type of thing. But you know, I never bought any of their full albums, but they have great artwork, kind of like Journey. I like Journey, but I don't know any Journey albums, but they got some great artwork on some of their covers. Some of their artwork is fantastic. With the beetle scarab thing, it's great. Beautiful artwork. There's bands that have magnificent artwork, and it's not music I would ever listen to in a million years. But hey, great artwork on it. That's okay. So that's what I mean, is I could just go that direction where I could almost buy albums I know I'll never listen to purely for their artistic value to me. That would be really interesting, actually, because it would be a massive, weird mix of genres and styles and everything if I was buying LPs strictly on their artistic merit as opposed to their listenability for me personally. That would be a weird way to do it, but I could see the entertainment value in there. There's something to it. There are probably people who do that exact thing. And it sounds like a kind of fun, quirky thing to do. So why not? Again, why not? If it's fun and you like doing it, then do it. But realistically, yeah, I mean, I've actually, and there are neat record players like the, what do they call it? The Soundburger, that thing. Or I could almost see myself getting one of those and just hanging it on the wall and putting the LP. But I know I would never really use it. So again, why purchase something to not, something of utility should be used. If you're not going to use it, then you really should want to collect it for some reason. And I know I wouldn't. So rather than be wasteful about it, I won't do it. I just know that about myself. I've been in my body and my mind long enough to know how I work. So, yeah, these are going to take a while, but they'll be worth it once they're done. Yeah, see, those rounded edges are a lot better. A lot better than the way it was before. So I can get rid of these black lines. Because the thickness was what bothered me. I realized the thickness didn't match, and I didn't like having mismatched thickness on the top of these things. So once I saw that, I knew it had to get changed. Just fine. I should have plenty of time to get this done and get the shirt ordered. Should be fine. Should be fine. Because I'll definitely have this done, well, probably next week or so. Erase that line. And the shirts might take 2 weeks, so it'll be fine. They'll make it. Yeah, that's better. All right, let's get to that one. Where are we time-wise here? 50. Wow. Jeez. I have not realized how much time has gone by. Well, that's good. That's good. I intended to only go for like 45 minutes, so I'm well past that now, so that's good. But I was kind of like, I was noticing the iPad was getting warm, so I thought maybe it was just getting unusually warm. But nope, it's a pretty good indicator of time. The iPad's heat level is generally a good way to tell when it's getting close to an hour. So like a built-in thermometer type of thing. Except it's, you know, just the processor heating up the iPad. It's not really intended for the purpose of timekeeping via temperature or anything. But it works for that in my case. Okay. Let's do a little bit of a thing here. There we are. We'll give that a little loop. All right. And then we'll do this one and bring that around there. Very nice. A lot of that one's already done. But, wait, that was kind of a sloppy. Let's get that line to look cleaner. There we are. Bring it down and around. Oh, yeah, that's all got to go. Hold on a minute. None of that's staying. Let's go to the small one to get this rounded out, because these are not good. Yeah, let's scrub that a bit. Yeah, that's okay. And then round that out. There we are. Oh yeah, we're good now. No we're not. Hold on. No we're not. That's gotta go. Let's just get rid of all that. Down to there. I can always redo that. Get rid of all that. Get out of the black here so that I can just bring the lines into it. Okay, come on. There we go. Let's see. There we go. No, that's all gotta go. Jeez, I thought I got this. Didn't go far enough down. Okay. You moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies. There's a reference point for some people. I don't expect many people to know that. They might. Little clue, we're going into Halloween. It would fit for Halloween. Okay. It is not a Halloween film, though. Not meaning it is not one of the Halloween films. It is a Halloween-y film. Although I don't know if it was released in Halloween originally. But it is not one of the Halloween films, because that could be kind of a deceptive clue. But it is a film many people would watch around Halloween. Okay. For some people, I guess. Some people probably watch it year-round. I would consider it a Halloween viewing film or time. Halloween, a movie that I would view around a Halloween time. Wow, I can't speak English anymore. Yikes. Another good sign that I probably should wrap things up. My inability to form coherent sentences anymore. When I'm barely able to begin with. Honestly. Bring that up and around. Bring this up and down. We're getting there. We're getting where we need to be here. See, I'm just rounding these tops out so I can get rid of these big black lines. They're a completely different weight than the other lines, which I don't like. I like the weight of lines to be consistent. If they look like they're organically connected, you know, kind of makes sense when you think about it. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. All right. How many of these do I have left? Oh, you know what? Let's do this one since we're right here. I'm not going to get these all done in this stream. I know that. Almost had it right. Just messed it up on the end. Come on, bring that around. There we go. Actually, that's fine. Just bridge those. A lot of these, this is actually a really good one. This lined up very well where the gaps are for just being able to complete it. Not have to do too much in the way of new line work. It's great. Let's see here. Good. This comes around and wraps in. Good. That just has to, well, yeah, see, that's, now I gotta fix that. That I do need the thicker eraser for, because that can't stay like that. No, that's too far in. Too far out, I guess. That's all gonna get erased. Gotta erase that. There we are. Yeah, see, that's no good at all. Alright, that's done. Okay. Well, you know what? We are going to, where are we? Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now. This is where we're gonna stop for today. So let me do this. Whoop, there we are. Perfect. That was a good hour. I wasn't planning on going for an hour, so that was actually very good. Actually quite pleased with that. So, well, hope everybody, whenever you're seeing this, because I know not a lot of people show up for these live, but I do see that there's some numbers for them after the fact, which I'm perfectly fine with. Whenever you're seeing this, I'm perfectly fine whenever you watch it. It doesn't have to be live. I'm not running ads. I'm not selling anything. So live or after the fact doesn't affect me at all. So whenever it makes sense for you to watch, that's the time you should watch. So I want to thank you. Ken, thanks for hanging out live for a while and chatting a bit. Appreciate that. And anybody else who sees this whenever you see this, thanks for watching. And as I always say, oh, hey Ken, have a good night. Have a great Monday. I don't know if I'm assuming it's evening or afternoon where you are, but if it's morning, have a wonderful rest of your day. Otherwise, have a great rest of your evening. And for everybody else, what I always say is find a creator who you enjoy and do something to support that creator. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about other creators who are trying to make a living at being creative. I don't try to make a living at this because I can't. I already know I'm not good enough to do it, so I don't bother. But there are other people who are trying to make a sincere effort at making money from their art, and those people could use your help. And that help does not have to be monetary. If you can do it that way, great. It does not have to be that. It can be as simple as sending them a note saying you like their work, sharing their stuff, bringing their work to the attention of other people, anything like that. Following them on whatever social channels they're trying to get going, you know? Again, as simple as just a sentence or two saying, I really appreciate your work, it's nice. Something like that can go a long way. It doesn't always have to be about money. Money's fine if you can do it, great. But in some way, reach out and support a creator that you enjoy, because you never know what type of place some people are in. And that message from you, that bit of support, that could come at just the right moment to keep that person going. Or maybe they're thinking about giving up. It happens a lot. It happens a lot more than I think we realize. I think a lot of creators come a lot closer to quitting than we realize. So whatever way you can support people, you should try to do it. Whatever method makes sense for you. On that note, I'm going to get out of here and say once again, thanks for hanging out or watching after the fact. Until the next stream, until the next stream, thanks for being here and take care.